everybody, it's AdmiredPlague, and today Dune Awakening drops for everyone that did not have the early access. I'll be breaking down 5 of the most important tips for new players to keep you alive on the sands of Arrakis. Whether you're here for survival tips or just to avoid rookie mistakes, I will be breaking down these tips for you guys, and if you want to share your own stories about your time on Arrakis, please let me know in the comments down below. I'll be hanging out for the next couple of months while playing this game and learning everything there is to know about it, and you get to come on that journey with me. The most important thing about Arrakis is knowing where and when to find water. You are dropped down on a sand planet with very little water and a scorching hot sun that is quickly depleting all of your resources in terms of water and liquid. So, there's a couple different ways to keep hydrated while you're scavenging through the dunes. As a beginner, one of the most important pieces of equipment you can possibly make is going to be one of your still water suits. These suits are specialized exploration suits that as you are going through your day-to-day resource grind, your suit is actually filling up with water from places in your body and things that are coming out of your body and turning that into a filtered water system so that you can drink at will. However, this water is not the kind of water that is going to keep you sustained and fulfilled as you are going through your adventures. So you're going to want to craft yourself a dew collector, which looks like a scythe, and go and find different primrose sections that are basically flowers, and during the nighttime they're going to have water droplets on them, and you can use your scythe to collect those water droplets that can then fill one of your leader johns. Now granted, this is only going to help you at nighttime, so how do you survive and get water during the day? There's a couple different ways to do this, and we're going to jump into those right now. The most effective way to keep water in your system is going to be crafting a leader john, which is basically just a jug of water that you get to keep and use as you go through the day. But to fill that jug, you're going to need to build yourself a blood purifier. Yes, I said blood purifier. You're going to have to sanguinate people, extract their blood using the blood extractor tool, and then put that blood through a purification process, which then turns that blood into water. As you progress the story, you no longer have to sanguinate blood from people, you actually just get a weapon that just extracts water from their skin. Pretty crazy. And lastly, the other way to find water is going to be using different things around your base, like turbines that actually suck up water from the atmosphere, and or going into scavenger bases and dungeons and finding dew collectors down there that you can then just utilize and drink at will. Let's move on to combat. Combat is a very cat and mouse kind of game. It is a little bit clunky. There is a little bit of nuance to it, especially when it comes to melee combat, but let's break down some of the weapons and what is most useful as a starting player. As a starting player, you want to know 2 main things: ranged weapons, melee weapons. If a character has a shield that you are fighting, you can over time whittle down that shield's power supply by shooting it. However, it's going to waste through all of your ammo, and as a new player, you're not going to have much ammo to waste. Therefore, melee is going to be your best friend. In melee combat, you can do a couple of light attacks, and as they're staggered, whether you parried them, dodged them, or just powered through them, you can also do a heavy attack, which is actually able to go through an enemy's shield. Do note that the shorter your weapon, the harder it is to attack multiple melee enemies at one time. There will be times when you're fighting 4 or 5 melee enemies and more, along with combat with ranged enemies, all at the same time in further zones. So learning how to parry and dodge is going to be paramount for you early game. Dodge with your left alt. This will get you out of any certain direction. Very good for getting out of sticky situations. If you are stunned by a ranged character, you can actually just dodge out of like the stun. It's a really cool mechanic. If you are locked down from a character hitting you, you can also dodge out as long as you have stamina. And if someone's trying to do a power attack, you can dodge out of the way. These are some of the ways that you can get out without using the parry. The parry system's a little bit harder to utilize. You want to parry a little bit before the attack actually goes off so you're ready for it. And if you do happen to miss the window, at least you can block the attack and not take damage. But in the case that you do parry it, you now have an enemy that's staggered, and you can now go in for a heavy blow, which should, in theory, kill the enemy most of the time for you. As you progress and find new weapons, and you find weapons of different rarities, you're going to end up getting weapons like the drill shot, which actually has bullet rounds that slow down through the shield but manage to break through the shield and end up hitting the enemy through it. You also will get submachine guns that have a subatomic type bullet that basically disrupts shields. They're called disruptor rounds, so on and so forth. But always just make sure that your weapons, as you're progressing through the map, that you are upgrading your weapons as well to maintain damage on enemies that have higher health pools and more shields going forward. One key note to note about combat is going to be that eventually, as you progress through the story, there will be ranged characters that do have shields. You cannot shoot through a shield, however, they can't shoot through their own shield either. Enemies that have weapons or guns need to actually take down their shield before they start shooting. Take advantage of this window, hide behind cover, and shoot them in the head as their shield comes off for a couple of easy shots. Also, one last note, if you're in combat, much like other games like Gears of War, you can actually switch the shoulder that you are firing on. Just make sure that when you're aiming down sights, hit left shift, and it should switch your shoulder in which way you're firing. This is really helpful for going around certain corners or just hiding behind certain items so that you're not being shot but still have a good line of sight on the enemy. If you prefer playing over the left shoulder the whole way, I believe it's the comma on your keyboard, hit that and that'll switch your shoulder for all movement types. Number 3 is going to be base building. I'm not going to get too much into this because there'll be a full advanced video on base building coming down the road. I've already made about 4 different bases, and one of my guild halls that I am building right now actually is massive and has a full hangar, a vehicle depot, and everything I need for all my guildies with all their own personal rooms and chests. So what I want to say though is before you get to that point, before you get to a massive base that's going to cost you money every 8 days, yay taxes, you want to make sure that when you're starting off, you're just building the essentials. Build yourself a nice 3x2 base, a base that has a a blood purifier, a water cistern, a fabricator, a repair station to repair your items so you don't have to keep rebuilding them, so on and so forth. And this way it's easy for you to move from place to place to place and not have to spend so much time working on building a perfect base. You're going to be moving your bases a lot. You are actually able to maintain multiple bases at a time. Small bases and advanced bases. The more advanced bases that you have, the more money you have to spend every 8 days. So it's recommended that when you start off, just use a small base, put the essentials in it. You're actually able to make a base copy device. So you can actually copy your small base and take it with you. And you just still have to use the granite resources to rebuild what's inside of it. But it is faster than having to rebuild it from scratch because it does put the outline there. Also note that if you're playing with your friends and you are constructing a base together and you put down outlines, you can build the entire outline and shape of a base, including the stuff that goes in it, like fabricators and other resource machines. You're actually able to put all that stuff down ahead of time, and then as people are coming on throughout the night, or friends that maybe play at different times than you, they can see your vision if you're the base builder and help you build that base. As long as their construction tool is out, they can see that outline. So for all of you that are very much enjoy Architect but don't want to go do the resource farming, you can still build the outlines and your friends can actually put in the resources to build the base together. While we're on the topic of building bases with your friends, please note that you are going to have to add guild permissions or friend permissions to your bases at the Sief Council. What this means is even if you go in the Sief Council and add the access level of guild, you're still going to have to go in and actually manually add all of your friends to that specific base and give them permissions. So if you don't add anyone to your base, no one can use your stuff. So if you have 3 or 4 friends, go to your Sief, go to the Add Player tab, and just add all your friends to it, and then you can adjust their permissions individually from there. This was something that took me a little while to get used to. I didn't understand how it worked because I thought just switching the access to guild would work, but you actually have to add people from the guild to give them guild access. You still have to add the people, and what's also nice is once they're added to the base, all you have at that point, everyone that got added to the base can now see that base wherever it is, even if they haven't uncovered it because of the fog of war, because they haven't gotten that far in. Number 4, we're going to cover story quests. These are very important. There's 2 different kinds of quests. You have story quests, and then you have contracts. There's different types of quests in between that, but I want to cover these 2 main things. Your story quests are going to be purple quests. These are going to be things like your trials. You want to go through the trials because it's going to give you more of a sense of the story and what you're actually doing. And as you complete these trial quests or the purple quests, you are going to unlock things for your character that are super useful, much like the blood exsanguinator tools that give you just straight water out of bodies versus the blood. So there's going to be different things that unlock that you have to unlock via the trial quests. So I recommend just kind of beelining to the trial quest no matter where they're at. Just get to them, do them. None of them require any sort of like specialized gear. Even the one that requires combat, they actually give you the item for combat. Most of them are puzzles and exploration type quests. Getting to them may be kind of tricky because you do have to cross large amounts of sand. You want to make sure that you have vehicles. We'll cover that next. But I highly recommend that you speed run the trials at least to get the gear that you're absolutely necessary for more advanced resource mining and more advanced base building. Now let's cover contracts really quick. Contracts are going to be missions that you find at any of the trade posts. There are a few trade posts throughout the Haga Basin. These Trade posts are areas to where you can collect contracts. You can talk to different house representatives that are for more advanced end game features we'll talk about in a different video. You can also talk to trainers. You are not beholden to one set of skills. You can actually learn skills from every single trainer. There's a beginner trainer and an advanced trainer. I will cover a video on all of those as well soon as we get farther into the game this week. But I just want to cover contracts are an easy way for you to start leveling up, getting gear, getting money to transfer stuff. But the biggest thing about trade posts and contracts is that as you unlock different trade posts, you can fast travel between the trade posts so that you're actually able to get to those contracts much quicker. So one of the things I always do in survival crafting games that have fast travel is just run around the entire map in it like as soon as possible and just find those fast travel places. And this way I'm able to then, when I'm doing the story or doing contracts, I can just fast travel to those quicker locations or closer locations to get those things done much faster and easier. Lastly, I already hinted towards it. Let's talk about traveling. Let's talk about how you get around the map. How do we get around Dune Awakening before you get to the deep desert? Vehicles. Vehicles and on foot. On foot, don't recommend it. Vehicles, though, there's multiple different vehicles. You have sand buggies. You have like dune buggies. So sand bikes, dune buggies. You have ornithopters. And each of those come in different variations with different pieces that you can build. Starting out as a new player, you're going to want to just build the base bike. You actually have your main story quest will take you right through it. There's it's a very easy, quick quest to do. It gives you all the parts to start building your first bike. However, I do want to make a very, very, very important note that if you are killed by the sandworm, you lose everything. If you are eaten by the sandworm, no matter what kind of server you're on, even a private server, I do believe, if you are killed by a sandworm, everything on your person is gone, including your bike. One bit of advice: when you are eaten by a sandworm, at one point you will get a cutscene. The cutscene will allow you to keep your bike one time. I do believe, this is not proven, I have not tested this. You are more than welcome to test this. If you've already tested this, leave me a comment down below. But in that cutscene, if you reject the offer of keeping your sand bike, I think that you end up getting the chance to do it again later. So this way, instead of saving a Mark 1 bike, you can save a Mark 3 buggy, possibly. Not 100% sure. Take that risk if you want it, or keep the bike. Up to you. I just want to let you know that there is a cutscene to save your bike after you do the bike quest and get eaten by a worm for the first time afterwards. I'm not sure, but I think there's an option because the story quest and the dialogue in the game, some of the stuff does have differences between what you choose and say, because there's like different options based on your background, based on your character creation, where you're from, your nobility, things like that. Your choices do matter in a slight way. It's not like Oblivion, it's not Skyrim, it's not The Witcher. It's not like a crazy system in the story where everything you do has an impact, but there are some very important impacts later in the game. So just keep that in mind. So I'm not quite sure if this is one of those situations where if you ignore it, you can do it later. So warning. Later in the game, you're going to get ornithopters that allow you to fly around everywhere. You're going to think the map is absolutely massive at first. It is. But vehicles are a good way to start traversing the map. I also, quick tip, you don't have to build a second seat on your bike if you want your friend to tag along with you. You can actually put an inventory bag on your speeder bike and then have your friend sit on top of it and crouch, and you're actually able to just kind of zoom around the desert with your friend just basically gravity booted to your buggy, to your sand bike. I think it's a really interesting way of getting around the needing a second seat and or needing inventory space. Now you get both wrapped in one, which is great. But that is it for vehicles. Just make sure that you're always upgrading your vehicles, getting the faster ones. There is vehicle degradation. Keep a welding tool on you in your inventory and some wire. Quick note about wire. Wire does come in stacks of 100, even though the spool only shows 1. At the time when you make it, it's 100. So don't make like 200 spools of wire because you're going to end up with like 200,000 wire. Don't do that. It's bad. But that's it for vehicles. And that is your Dune Awakening starter kit. I hope some of you found these tips helpful. I know they were kind of generic and basic, but I think they're things that a lot of people are new players that have not seen the dev blogs, have not seen the dev videos, have not watched streams yet of this game. I think that these tips are usually helpful for new players. If you are interested in joining the guild, drop a comment down below. I am opening up our guild Infectious to a lot of people. We are currently on the US East server of Pixis. So as long as you're on Pixis, we are on the Farjb subset of servers. Send me a message here or comment down below, and I'll see if I can get you guys into the guild so we can start doing Landstrahd, which I will talk about in a future video. I'm AdmiredPlague. Hope these videos help you, and I'm looking forward to making a lot more Dune content. If you're interested in Dune content, make sure you hit that like and follow, subscribe button, and I also be live on Twitch about 3 days a week playing Dune Awakening with the community as well. So I'll see you guys there. Have a good one, and stay safe and stay hydrated in Dune. Goodbye.